And this is a very famous hadith, and I'm not going to talk about the whole thing. I'm just going to talk about the piece that I think is relevant for the topic or the concept that I'm covering, or the theme that I'm covering. Just talking about the idea of ridha, or contentment. And your ridha is a double-edged sword. You have to know where to apply it and how to apply it, or else it can ruin your life, really. It can ruin your deen. If you are discontent with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then that's the closest thing you'll have to kufr that is not verbally clear. Contentment with yourself is the beginning of every bad deed. It starts by you being content with yourself and your attitudes and your proclaimed ethics or behaviors or thoughts or choices. Allah's ridha, or contentment with you, is your number one pursued goal. Like in life, all you're pursuing is Allah's ridha. This concept is very important. It's a double-edged sword. If you're radi anillah and not with yourself, then you got it right. If you're radi with yourself, you're content with yourself and not with Allah, then you've ruined everything. If you're not seeking Allah's ridha with you, then you've got the whole algorithm is wrong. Today I'm going to narrate for you another piece of the hadith that's important. A piece of this concept from a hadith that I think is important, where he said alayhi salatu wasalam, and you all know this hadith, من رأى منكم منكرا فليغيره بيده فإن لم يستطع فبلسانه فإن لم يستطع فبقلبه وذلك أضعف الإيمان. Where he says alayhi salatu wasalam, if you see something that is wrong, munkar, meaning it's agreed upon that it's wrong. It's agreed upon that is wrong. There's no difference of opinion upon it. Socially, everyone knows this is wrong. If you bring anyone from any background, that's wrong. That's munkar. It's a social concept, not a religious one. So if you see a munkar, that if you're capable of changing it with your hand, as in you can physically or actively control how this is going to turn out, you can actually make a difference. You can impact it personally. And if you can't do it that way, then change it by speaking out against it, like raising awareness about it. And if you can't do that, then change it with your heart, and that is discontentment. And this is regarding the status quo of the world. If you see the munkar in it, then you have to work towards changing it physically, actively, yourself, making impact. If you can't, then you have to speak out against it. And if you can't, then at least you should have discontent in your heart. فَلْيُغَيِّرْهُ بِقَلْبِهِ وَذَلِكَ أَضْعَفُ الْإِيمَانِ. And this is the least level, the lowest level, like the bare minimum of iman. Of iman. This is how iman is. Now a whole dimension for ridha is brought. Ridha is measured by iman. By iman. If you have ridha regarding the status quo that is wrong, that means you have no iman in you. If you don't have ridha anillah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then the iman is not there. If you have full ridha upon yourself, the iman is not there. Ridha controls how much iman you have and you don't have in your life. And the status quo, isn't that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's work? So if I'm discontent with the status quo, does that not mean that I'm discontent with Allah? No. And this is like, if I have to rank misunderstandings in our deen that Muslims have, not non-Muslims, that Muslims have, it ranks in the top 5. People don't know how to differentiate between having ridha billah, ridha with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what He has chosen for me in my life and what my life is about, versus ridha regarding the status quo, the mistakes that are being made, the injustices that people have done in this world. They're not the same thing. They're not the same thing. I don't have time to explain to you how this works in this session. This is a 5-minute khatrah. I can't do this for you. But you have to seek this out if you don't find it clear. Like if you don't have clarity on this topic, if you don't know how to have ridha billah and everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has done and will do, and everything regarding your life specifically from Him subhanahu wa ta'ala, and differentiate that from being discontent regarding the status quo that is filled with injustice and filled with dhulm and filled with darkness, if you don't know how to differentiate those two things, then we have a problem on our hands. We have a real problem on our hands. Because one of two things is going to happen. Either if you clump them together, either you have ridha anillah that leads to you being okay with injustice and okay with mistreatment of others because you see that as an act of God. Or the opposite is where your discontentment or your disgruntlement will not be towards only just the status quo, but it'll be towards God Himself, and you object to Him. Jalla Jalalullah. So he explains that, فَلْيُغَيِّرْهُ بِقَلْبِهِ, then in your heart you have to change it. If you can't actually go and make the change, your heart can't accept it. And that's the least level of iman. There's nothing lower. Without that, there's no iman left. The iman bucket is empty, if that's not there, at least. So this is a huge topic, and I just wanted to invite your psyches to take time and think about it, because it's absolutely critical in our understanding of our own deen, understanding of Allah, understanding of ourselves and the world that we live in. I hope that was a benefit. يروي الإمام مسلم في صحيحه عن أبي سعيد الخدري رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم من رأى منكم منكرا فليغيره بيده فإن لم يستطع فبلسانه فإن لم يستطع فبقلبه